the greatest like leverage point that I've seen for our organization to go from not profitable to $600,000 in revenue to $2 million in revenue to $10 million in revenue to now, on pace for 50 million in revenue is hire really smart people and pay them more than you pay yourself, as much as you're willing to do that. We're optimizing for growth. You're talking to a growth guy. Okay. And we don't want to be not profitable.
Welcome to the Profit Answer Man podcast. We believe the purpose of business is to make lots of money. We'll show you how to scale and grow your profit and cash flow, all while working less. We're a big fan of the ELF model. Easy, lucrative, and fun. If you're the backbone of America, you deserve to be well rewarded for that. Listen in to see how other business owners are doing it and how to maximize your profit and cash flow. Welcome to the Profit Answer Man, Michael Jacobson. It's great to meet you.
Hey, Rocky. Appreciate the platform. Thanks so much. Excited for the conversation.
And I'm excited to learn from you as well. Can you share a little bit about yourself and your business?
Yeah, totally. So I have a lot of strong opinions. I like to tell the people I work with that I have strong opinions, but they're loosely held. So maybe you'll change my mind on a couple things on this podcast, but I'm going to start with sharing my strong opinions. The first one is corporate America sucks. And it's a loaded statement. Yeah, that's number one. I've got maybe about a dozen for you today. But look, I think I would have to imagine, I'm making an assumption here, but I would have to imagine a lot of the people that listen to your podcast are kind of in that same camp that, look, like maybe a more politically correct way of saying it is people like you and me, we have a fire in our belly. We like the world of entrepreneurship. We want to be our own boss. We're going to go out there and make great decisions. We're going to go out there and make bad decisions. But it's kind of, there's a nice ownership of you own those decisions, and whatever you do right comes 100% back to you, and whatever you do wrong, like you get to learn from those, and you're on the hook for those too. So that's how I got into this business. And that's just one of the ways that I enjoy living life, is like that the freedom and that comes with that, and holding that responsibility is something that I've enjoyed. Right out of college though, you hear about the statistics of how many startups fail. And so I ended up joining corporate consulting. And so hopefully I can say these things about corporate America because I spent a little bit of time in it, but I didn't last that long because I could sit there and be miserable, or I could do something about it. So I ended up, the statistics are correct in how many businesses fail, how many startups fail. So I looked at that and said, the whole concept of like entrepreneurship through acquisition was kind of coming to be. And so I said, what if I found, long story short, I found a flower shop that was really struggling and it was not really in sellable condition. It happened to be my uncle's. And he called me one day and he said, hey, I want to sell my flower shop. My background's in finance. And so I don't know if I was his first call, but I think he ran out of options. So I was like, interesting, something for me to sink my teeth into. Again, just kind of accelerating the story here, is that was 7 years ago. He looked at me a little bit funny, but after a couple of months of working with him, I asked him, I said, I want to buy your flower shop. So we worked out a deal, and that's how I got into this space. We turned it into a store that was losing money. It had, negative profitability. And now we're running, high multi-million-dollar profits out of single locations. And we have about 20 locations open today. We're scaling that to a couple of hundred locations, hopefully, is the goal. But so far, so good over the course of the next few years.
It's interesting because you're a finance person going into somewhat of a creative business.
Yeah.
And honestly, if you said to me, I want to buy a flower shop, I'd probably put it one step below the restaurant, only because, restaurants are difficult because you only have so much time, right?
So difficult. Restaurants are so difficult. It's like bakery. Like I compare the flower shops to like a bakery or a cafe. Like it's a very romantic idea. But nobody knows how hard it is. And it was that way when I first got into the industry, but we changed it for the floral industry. I don't know if cafes and bakeries, I don't know too much about them, but we've changed the floral industry a lot. So it's become a lot easier. So I'm sure we'll get into it.
Well, I do want to get into it because, and the reason that I talk about the struggle is I buy my wife roses. They don't last very long, right? And so if you don't sell them quick, then they go bad on your shelf. That would be an interesting thing. Like, how much of your work is custom order? Like, hey, this is an event, I need you to do this, versus kind of your daily walk-in type of business.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, like so many different rabbit holes to go down, but I'll zoom all the way out to give you the full picture, and then we can go down from there. But we became really good at three different things. Our entire industry. When I took over this flower shop, I was not necessarily excited just by this one flower shop. But the thing that got me so excited is the entire industry is struggling with things exactly like you're touching on one of them, which is supply chain. And so that's the first bucket that we had to get really good at. The second bucket was technology, and the third bucket is marketing. So we're really good at a lot of other things, but if you had to bucket it into three things, we've gotten really good at supply chain, technology, and marketing. And those are the issues that almost all florists struggle with. And so there was like this really systemic issue where you have tens of thousands of flower shops across America, but 99.9% of them are single unit owner operator. And so, you have these like private equity funds that are rolling up dental offices, and I'm trying to do this like roll up strategy. Nobody's ever done that for the floral industry successfully. And it just stayed like a really fragmented space. So all these problems came up. And so, there were big challenges to solve, but like where there's pain and where there's big challenges, there's like also synonymous with big opportunity, right? So I got really excited by that. And then I also, the other side of it, and I promise I'll answer the supply chain question, but the other side of it was like, there's also an emotional draw to it. I don't know. You hear these stories of like Wall Street guys that spend 40 years, like hedge fund managers and blah, blah, blah. But they retire, and then like they developed a lot of sharp skills, and so they end up opening like a candy store, or right, like, and they run those candy stores like damn well, right? Those stores are run financially at least like darn well. And so I think the floral industry has gotten really neglected, and with that has come a lot of opportunity. But what attracted me to the space wasn't just the financial opportunity. Like that was a very compelling part of why I wanted to get into the space. But there was also like flowers are love, and we're in the business of like emotion and human connection, and like there's incredible beauty in what we're doing also. So I would be remiss not to mention that as well. On the perishability side of things, it's the intersection of technology and supply chain. So on the supply chain side, we've gotten big enough where we source flowers directly from the farm. So we're getting flowers that are way higher quality because they're not going through farmer to processor to consolidator to a logistics agency to a wholesaler to the retailer finally to the consumer. There's multiple days in each of those hands. And so right now we go farmer to logistics agency to us. So we cut out a lot of that supply chain so our flowers last longer. Yeah.
I'm just a little surprised because you're not that big. In other words, you're not $1 billion company. You're not even $100 million company, right? And yet you're still able to cut all the people out.
Yeah, we do. The technology and marketing side had to come first because we did have to get to a certain size in order to invest in our supply chain. As soon as we started purchasing about $500,000 of product per year, that's when we got a little bit more ammunition, and we were able to work with smaller farms. Now we're not a $1 billion brand right now, but we have 30 million of revenue running through the system to by the end of the year, like on track for 50 million. So that high growth, and so we can have conversations with more what's called a mid-size farms and show them our track record also of growth, and ask them, hey, work with us and grow with us. And the farms are we work with farms in Ecuador and Colombia and Thailand and Mexico, and a lot of farms in the local US too. And so those folks are willing to entertain the conversation we found. And you don't get what you don't ask for. And when we ask, we've been pleasantly surprised. So, but it's also the technology. Like, okay, we get really great flowers in, but still, it's still like historically being a flower buyer has actually been a pretty tough job. But look, like we're in the age at this point where, from a technology standpoint, if you can think of the solution, it's probably possible to create technologically. There's not a lot that's not possible these days. And, it's still like a cost benefit analysis. It might be super expensive to go and develop it, but like it's probably possible. So I was like, what if we made a predictive analytics algorithm for every one of our locations, and we could take historical purchase data and any other external data out there that helps us forecast what people are going to order. We did it from a lot of technology investment that we built here, but we previously, for other reasons, we started a digital inventory system. All of the arrangements our designers operate off of iPads now. They have recipes in there. So we wanted to digitally track inventory. That's where it started. But we had all these points of data in our system. And now we could why couldn't we create a predictive algorithm to understand what arrangements people are going to order? And then we have all the raw materials because the recipes are in there. So the system can we can type into the system, like, what flowers do I need from June 18th to June 21st? And it'll spit out a pretty darn accurate report of all the flowers that we need. And then It'll also track what flowers we actually used during that time period and enhance itself. It'll learn from what its prediction was versus what the reality was after it's happened, and it will retrain itself, right? So it's like AI essentially. So that's helped us. Like all of those investments have made it pretty easy to do what has historically been hard.
How big of an investment was that to build a system like that?
It was free in the sense that it paid for itself. It was obviously expensive to do. And like, I would be remiss to say that when I first came into the business, I was relatively fresh out of college. I had some savings from my job in corporate, but I was living a pretty scrappy life. The business wasn't making money. The first year we got it to a little beyond break even. It was pulling a little bit of profit. I could have pulled that income myself, but I didn't. We reinvested back into the business and kept living a pretty scrappy life for a pretty long time. And like year after year after year, we started to get some pretty healthy profit after a few years, but like still was super aggressive in reinvesting back into the business. So it was like, it was a couple $100,000 of investment in software and technology over a 2-year period. And now we're more than a few $1,000,000 invested in the tech, just continuing to enhance it. So it's expensive. But what I mean by it's like free is, or it's the amount of waste that we've saved has paid for that investment time and time and time and time and time again. And as we grow, it just becomes more, right? So I almost viewed it as like a cost saving metric. Yes, the expense came before the cost saving metric was there, but as long as we didn't run out of cash, which is a really important point, it would be a good thing for us.
Did you measure your waste before you started using this?
Like paper and pen style. Yeah, but there was no real automated.
Did you really have an understanding of the amount of waste is really the question. Because I think a lot of business owners don't understand the waste in their business. And it's every kind. Like I work with a printer. Every time they load that machine, there's waste of the beginning part of the material, the end part of the material. You go out to a construction site, there is tons of waste everywhere. Even in a factory, there's waste. And I think every business has a lot of waste. I don't think people truly understand how much that hits their margins.
Yeah, we weren't able to track. And talk about like labor hours also. Like if you say you're not asset heavy and you're not purchasing physical goods, like and you're mostly a service-based business or whatever it might be, you might have a lot of wasted labor hours. Like there's waste. I totally agree. We weren't able to really, like, I could stick and I think a lot of business owners do it. We stick our finger in the air and see where the wind's blowing. And like, honestly, as business owners, nobody understands our business better than we do. And we could probably tell you what the waste is through a gut feeling with a pretty remarkable degree of accuracy. That said,
You're a finance guy though. So that's different. Most people are allergic to the numbers and what they say, and the reality I can tell because if I look at a P&L and I look for certain ratios, like, okay, this is your labor cost, this is your gross profit, and I'm talking overhead labor. I'm like, you got a lot of people in your office that have got to be wasting time, or this is the amount of service techs you have, and this is how many hours you billed for, and this is how many hours you paid for. I can go, the ratios are off. But most people, I
think you're right to push on that. I think you're right.
Think that way.
I think that, I guess I'll put it a different way, because you're totally right that some people out there just they want to even like turn a blind eye to the numbers. But look, as a business owner, I would say though that there's some level of gut feeling that there's waste or there's not, or where that waste is happening. And for us, we weren't able to, like, we had the gut feeling that we had more waste than we needed to on the flower side, on the labor side, actually even more than the flower side. And until we had the right data infrastructure, like we developed our time and attendance system to be baked into our floral software for the designers. So not only are they having the right recipes for the arrangements that they need to make, so making sure that they're not putting like the wrong flowers and making sure the consumer experience is really fantastic. But also now that their time and attendance system is baked in there, we can track the designer productivity. So how fast does it take that designer to make the arrangement? So that's not the end all be all metric for us. Like there's quality and there's other stuff that comes before speed. But assuming that the quality is there, we understand who are our top performing designers. We pay them more. Right now, the designers know that we're tracking that, so it increases their efficiency because they know that they get compensated based on it. For the folks that aren't performing as well, we have like the power of that too. Is like I hate micromanaging. I don't want to be micromanaged. I don't want to micromanage other people. But now I have the data in the system where I don't need to breathe down people's neck to understand where the waste is happening. The data is going to show me where that waste is happening, and gives me an opportunity to coach the folks that need to be coached, and reward the folks that are performing really highly and make sure that they, stay happy and we keep those folks around.
And that was part of it, dealing with people management, because in a sense, you're in a creative business, but yet it sounds like your arrangements are standardized, kind of like, this isn't an insult, but like McDonald's, like, here's our menu, here's
Sure.
what we do. How does that come together with the client, maybe? Or are
Yeah.
clients happy with the choices you give them and the different ones? And so is that, I want to understand that relationship.
Yeah, totally. So I love product and product development. It's almost to like a weakness where we've probably created about a couple thousand different SKUs, but we're constantly trying to innovate and create things that people love. Ultimately, it's not up to us. Like, I don't get to say that this is the best product. It's the marketplace determines that. So we look at the data. But we're constantly paring back our SKUs and offering a more standardized service. But we view that in through two different lenses. I think it's a really good idea. Is we are a more premium brand, and if you kind of take the word premium brand and stretch that to its full limits, you look at brands like Louis Vuitton and Gucci, and like, I don't know, there's 100 different brands that you could name, right? All of the hyper luxury brands out there, their catalogs are largely pared down because they're the experts at what they do, and they put something in front of you and say, hey, we know that this is a really high quality thing that we believe deeply that people will love this. And so they're not offering a catalog of 3,000 items. They operate a catalog of 3 items or 30 items, like just significantly less. And that helps us with our cost of goods. That helps us with our waste, but it's also just, like, in my opinion, a better client experience. The other lens that we look through it is so that's helped us in a lot of different ways. But of course, people call us and they want custom stuff. One of our favorite calls to receive is, hey, and we receive this call every single day, multiple times a day. Hey, I want to send flowers to somebody. I don't know what I want. This person loves pink or red or blue or like whatever it might be. And I want to spend like $200. And we're like, awesome. We'll ask them a couple questions to make sure we really understand what they're looking for, but we make it really easy for them. And our designers can now say somebody really likes like vibrant colors. Chances are that are like 3 or 4% waste that we normally have. We can say, hey, we have a little bit of extra inventory of these, gorgeous orange lilies. They're not old at all. We just happen to buy a little extra. They're just as good as, like, we got them in yesterday. We just think we purchased a little too much. We can use that product in there to further reduce our waste. So anyways, we make sure our customers know that we can do custom work. Custom work that we do is sometimes some of my favorite work that we do, because the designers get to express their creative freedom a little bit more and they create remarkable stuff. And then, like, maybe we take a photo of it, put it on the site as a product and test it. And sometimes that does well for us too. So we don't want to like over standardize. I wouldn't necessarily fully compare us to McDonald's where it's like hyper standardized, but we're also not. We do err more on the side of standardization, and that has helped our cost of goods. It helps our labor efficiency, but we don't want to like suck the creativity out of the room. We are in a creative field, so we definitely make sure there's plenty of space for that.
How do you find that balance with people, letting them be creative, but yet managing by the numbers? And for creative people, I know a lot of times that's a friction point. How have you overcome it?
Yeah, I've come from a finance background, but you've already hit on, I'm really creatively driven. And so that it is an important subject for me too. I've seen the best creative work come when there are guardrails in place, but you let people operate with discretion within those guardrails. Like, just one example of it is, Rocky, make the best arrangement that you possibly can. And then I'm going to have somebody else, make the best arrangement that you possibly can. There's obviously a lot of creative freedom there, but I've seen better results by saying, Rocky, make the best arrangement you can, and you have a $30 budget for flowers. So you just put one constraint in there that like makes business sense. And that constraint allows that, like, it forces them, it's a forcing function where it forces them to operate within a constraint, and they have to think more creatively. And so, like, it's really easy to like take some super expensive exotic flower, and now, if you don't have that budget constraint, but this is business, like there are budget constraints. And so, but I'm not going to prescribe like you can only use 3 roses, you can only use 6 hydrangea, you can only use 4 sunflowers. So there's a little bit of an art to it, but give your team members guardrails and then allow them to operate within those guardrails. Like, set the principles, don't prescribe more than that. Your job is to set the principles and then let them, like, our designers are way more talented than I am with design. Like, I don't want to prescribe what they should be doing, right? But I'm going to give them some guardrails.
How did you come up with your principles?
Yeah, that's a really important question. I think it's a lot of like soul searching. Our principles at French Florist are like, They spell out love, Love. The first one is love what you do. Like, I don't know, why wouldn't you want to love what you do? Like, shouldn't that be obvious? And I think we spend so much of our time working. It would be wise to, if we are going to, develop ourselves from a professional standpoint in our career, like, may as well choose something that we love. Like, there's a lot of different ways to make money. May as well choose something that like you're passionate about that also can make money. So it's just their personal principles, right? And we have the privilege sitting at the ownership level to let those bleed into the organization, and we do that like vulnerably, and like these are my values that now our organization gets to adopt, and we attract the people that share those values. They're not my values now, they're our values. Other people come in and they have those values, and we start to make collective decisions. I'm not making all the decisions. They get to make decisions that are aligned with those values, because those are their values also. We share those.
If someone comes in and supposedly they're a well-known great designer, but they don't meet your values, what do you do?
We don't hire them. Yeah, we're very, very strict on that. So we don't just hire to those values, but we do 30, 60, 90-day evaluations. And literally it's a one sheet of paper. And the first third of that is LOVE. Love what you do, own your impact, value connection, and exceed expectations. And we are evaluating your performance based on those core principles. And we hire, we fire, we promote, we coach. Everything that we do is centered around, all the decisions that we make for the client experience are centered around those values. So they're very DNA level, like very deep in the organization.
I think and the reason I'm asking you these questions is because a lot of business owners are like, I got to go sell. I got to go do this. Yeah. I got to go do that. They don't spend the time to create the values. They don't hire to the values. They hire people who are willing to do the job because they need money, not because they love it. I think that's what creates all this friction in so many companies.
Yeah,
and yet
I've had the friction. I've been there. I've learned the hard way with it. I mean, my 2 cents, for whatever it's worth on it, is all of the stuff I've learned the hard way, where I was the one out selling. I got super burned out, like borderline hospital, right? Like thrown up in the morning, like just nervous system super messed up. So like I've been there. Unfortunately, I had to learn the hard way, where it's like my body was telling me I can't operate this way anymore. I have to operate a different way. So that was the forcing function that made me kind of like look at, like, I didn't want to stop running the business. That never crossed my mind, but I just need to do it in a way that's more sustainable for me. And that's been like life-changing. I've always loved what I do, but I love what I do even more now. And what it is like, I don't know, it's just like little things where the willingness to sit in short-term pain. So if you're not out and selling and you don't have anybody else selling for you, it's going to be a painful few months where you take a step back and like you work on these seemingly like dumb core values. And they are dumb core values for most companies, because what they do is they write them on a piece of paper. They do this whole big shebang. Maybe they even pay a dumb consultant. I used to be a consultant, so I could say that. And then they have this miraculous thing, and they shove it in a drawer and it collects dust, and they do nothing with it, right? Like that's what happens most of the time. So like, but you can tell for us, hopefully, that like we actually did something with that. So in doing that, stepping away from that, and that combined with like, hey, I can't do this by myself anymore. I need help running it. And like the business was only pulling in like 70 or 80K in profit in its first kind of full year. And I could pay myself that salary, or I could like just cover my rent expense and like my food, and that's it. And then I could go and hire somebody for like the vast majority of that salary and 100% forego my salary and sit in that short-term pain where that person is making a lot more than I am. But I'm hiring to my core values, where like, and I interviewed people to these core values. And it would have been really easy to like interview 3 or 5 people and be like, oh, like, this person is the best of the 5 people that I interviewed. Let's pull them in. I've done that too many times. And now it's like, no, we might go through an interview cycle, interview 8 people. None of them exceed expectations. So we don't hire any of them. And I'd rather just like sit in that short-term pain. And then I pay them a lot more than I make. Or a lot, like there are still people in the organization that make a lot more than I do. But like I'm making a hell of a lot more than I was, a few years ago, using these tactics of be willing to sit in the pain to hire the right person, hire to these core values, be willing to spend money on. It's that whole concept of the leaders eat last. So there's sacrifice that needs to come with it. But if like you'll never, here's my strong opinion, you'll never get to where you want to go, assuming you have ambitions beyond where you currently are. If you're out there selling, you need to be a leverage point in the organization. You can't necessarily be the ammunition. You need to be like, sorry for the weird analogy, but you need to be the gun shooting the ammo. you can't be the ammunition anymore. So there's a jump that like people need to take, and what get you here won't get you there. Like this is all wisdom from other people, but I learned it the hard way. So just to be like a vehicle to take other people's wisdom and just be like, yes, this is correct.
So, one of the areas that is a constant struggle for business owners is reinvesting in the business and making a profit. And there are a balance between the two. It's a question of at what point do you just say, I need to get paid and I need to get paid fairly?
Yeah. I think you just have to be like, you just have to make that decision for yourself really and be happy with it. I think that there's two stages that you could be in only. Here's strong opinion number 3. You're either in profitability mode or you're in growth mode. If you want to be highly profitable, you're probably going to grow a little slower. If you want to be in high growth mode, you're probably not going to be that profitable. But the good news is like, it's not that black and white. There's a pendulum on which side you want to lean toward. You can have profitable growth, but you're not wholly optimizing for growth and you're not wholly optimizing for profitability. So like you're not going to be growing super fast, but you can still grow. And so I think you just have to make that decision for yourself on like where you want that needle to land on that scale, and then like go full force with that. So if for whatever reason, if you're feeding your family, your kids are going out to college, I know it's expensive, right? Like whatever it might be, make that decision and commit to it. And you can always kind of change your mind down the line. But like if you don't commit to any of those, like sometimes you want to grow, sometimes you want to be profit. Like I don't think it's going to do you any service.
Well, and I think that's the problem. A lot of business owners get in this hamster wheel of growth, growth, growth. And I'm like, at what point are you going to actually make money? Because, and the reason I say this is,
I was like, I'm good with not making money for 3 years, and then I better be making money, right? And that's exactly what we did. So like, at least I had a clear answer to it, right? And if I said I need to make money from day one, I would have optimized for that. So I think just like making a decision and kind of being ruthless about it.
and I concur with you. 3 years, I think, is the upper edge. In other words, if you can't make money in 3 years, there's a problem, right? And I'm okay with that, understanding starting a business from scratch, how much time and effort it takes. I think the people who go for hyper growth or constant growth, the problem is if you hit a hiccup, the entire engine seizes. And when the engine seizes, the game is over. If you're the kind of person who's okay with game over, I'm going to start with nothing again, have at it. I'm not. Some people are, and I get it. And that's why we always want to make sure that at some point there's a path to profitability, or when you're reinvesting in the business, I want to see the return. So in your case, you said, hey, I'm reinvesting in technology. It's going to cut our cost of goods.
Right.
It's going to allow us to do things faster, quicker. It's going to allow me to measure. So there is a return here.
Yes.
I see a lot of people spending money willy-nilly on growth and not getting a return.
Yeah, no, understand you're talking to a finance guy. Any financial capital, like I'm not going to run not making money for 3 years unless it's a really compelling reason for that. So all of the decisions that we were making to like defer making money were because it would allow us to make more money down the line very clearly. So if there was not a clear path to that, I would have been a lot more conservative with that 3-year timeline, for sure.
As you talk to other business owners, or especially within your industry, are they on the same page as you, or are they?
No, we're more aggressive than the typical business. But we hedge our bets. We have a very solid cash flow business at this point, so cash is less of a concern for us. We also, on top of that, so we're taking all of the profits and continue to reinvest. I pay myself well within those profits as well. At this point, I didn't for, like I said, a while, but we raised a small round of capital, and not from venture, because venture, to your point, is hyper growth and it's grow 100x or die. So same with private equity. We raised capital from folks that aligned, again, like I guess with our core values. They're a little bit more patient capital. Obviously, they didn't expect to make money and want us to grow quickly, but it's aligned with how quickly we want to grow also. But so we raised $3 million about a year and a half or 2 years ago at this point. We still haven't touched that capital, but I didn't raise it for the capital. I raised it for like the strategic insights from people who have been there, done that, who can help us, right? It's like for fellow business owners, do they do that? I don't know. Maybe some folks do, but it's like we're going to do whatever it takes to help our industry. And I love what I do so much that I'm willing to do these things. So, and we've had a lot of fun doing it. But I don't know, Rocky, if you know this, but we're actually franchising our business. And so
Yeah.
we have a lot of folks that come from corporate America and have said, I've been working a 9 to 5 for a long time. They've done well for themselves financially. They've always wanted to be their own boss. It's the same story that I told, but they don't want to be in business by themselves, but they do want to be in business for themselves. Like a franchise can be a good opportunity for that. And so talk to a lot of people that want to start their own business. And those people, they want to be profitable in the first year, right? So those are the people that I mostly talk to. And that's why we decided to franchise, is because we already took the risk doing what we're doing. We have proven out, we're beyond the obviously proof of concept stage at this point, and can replicate the model. We want to open more locations now, and we've chosen to do that through the franchise model. And so I think most business owners out there are, they want to de-risk. And so, they're not going to make $100 million with us, but they might make a hell of a lot more than they were making in corporate with us. Right. And so you just choose how much money you want to make. And there's a certain level of risk that you have to take if you want to make a lot of money, but that's not life's, here's my strong opinion number 4. It's I don't think it's hard to disagree with what I'm saying. I know they're not really strong opinions. They're collective wisdom, but we don't get to take the money with us when we die. Money it's a means. It's a means to live a fulfilling life, or whatever different ends that we're all after. So you don't have to optimize for making $100 million, but I do think it's really important to kind of choose how much money do you want to make, really, actually, it's kind of your choice, and then just optimize for that. And if you want to make a few $100,000 a year, and you can get to that through profitable growth and making sure that you're paying yourself first. And so, but I feel like there's people just aren't making an intentional, conscientious choice of that, and then basically making every decision ruthlessly to optimize for that.
I agree with you. They are not. But you came from a business background and a financial background and a consulting background. So that's why you behave that way. Most people aren't thinking that way, and they don't have the self-awareness or the self-discipline to plan out that whole thing.
Well,
they're more just kind of rudderless.
Thanks to your podcast, now I do.
Yeah, now they do. You're also a fan of EOS and traction. How has that helped in your business?
Yeah, I mean, you could walk away from listening to Rocky, and I'm sure all the amazing folks that have been on the podcast and say, be super inspired. But at the end of the day, inspiration is pretty short lived. You need systems. You need actual real systems to hold yourself accountable to this motivation. EOS has been phenomenal for us. I was really skeptical of it first, but it's been great. It's basically I've kind of heard you need some operating system in your business. It doesn't really matter which one, but you need one. I think a lot of the whole EOS calls this out too. They say if you try to cherry pick different things from different operating systems, it's just, you don't really see it work that often. But EOS is a operating system. It's a very proven operating system. We use it. It's worked well for us. And it's all the basic stuff. It's what KPIs are you measuring your business by? What are the scorecard items? What does your accountability chart or org chart look like? Who reports to who? Give 100% clarity on who's responsible and what success looks like. And then you measure it on a weekly basis. And there's a cadence, a meeting cadence, making sure your meetings are super potent, not just a waste of time, right? So it's an operating system that provides you the guardrails. It gives you the principles of how to run effective meetings, of what KPIs are the most important ones to measure for your specific business. And then it creates an accountability system where it kind of holds you accountable as the owner, but also everybody on our team as well, where you don't have to be a dick and say you're not hitting your numbers. It's the system is there, and the system says that you're not hitting your numbers. What are we going to do about it, right? And we're going to solve those issues together, because this is what the system's saying. It's not what I'm saying. So it's a good system. I like it a lot.
And you've implemented it well, because what we see are a couple of issues from time to time. Number one, they pick the wrong numbers to measure, and the numbers don't add up to free cash flow. Or two, when things don't go well, they're we didn't sell flowers this week. Wedding season's over. So they make excuses and they accept them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it sounds like you're doing both of those well. So congrats to that. Is there anything else that you wanted to touch on but didn't get a chance to?
The most success that I've had, I have the privilege of sitting in this seat and going on a podcast and telling people they should buy more flowers. And you should buy more flowers. But I should do my job. You should buy more flowers. But the reality is there are people that in our company that I'll train on what I think is right, and I'll onboard them. But my job is to now have them surpass me. Within a relatively short period of time, they should be a heck of a lot better at their job than I would be sitting in that job. I try to hire folks that are smarter than me. And what that means, I've kind of touched on it before, is usually they're pretty expensive. But the greatest leverage point that I've seen for our organization to go from not profitable to $600,000 in revenue to $2 million in revenue to $10 million in revenue to now, on pace for $50 million in revenue, is hire really smart people and pay them more than you pay yourself, as much as you're willing to do that. We're optimizing for growth. You're talking to a growth guy. Okay. And we don't want to be not profitable. I'll freak out if we're not profitable, and my team knows that. We've had one quarter in the past, the past 4 years or 5 years where we haven't been profitable. And it's because we were really investing super heavily in growth and we missed some of our goals. We had a hiccup, right? So good thing we have the cash reserves to deal with that and get us back on track. But the biggest leverage point for me is, if you want to optimize more for the growth side, is just be willing to hire really smart folks and give up control. Let them, you can't both run that seat. There needs to be one honcho running that seat and giving them, and essentially, a different way of looking at it is you're buying back your time. You want that person running it, but having the expectation that they do it better than you do. I think there's an adage in business that this is strong opinion number 5. There's only 5 strong opinions on this episode. Strong opinion and final opinion number 5. This is the common collective wisdom that I'm going to challenge, because I don't like it and nobody's been able to change my mind yet. Most people say, if somebody underneath you can do the job even 70% as good as you can, let them do that. I don't like that. I want them to do, I try to be humble. I don't know how humble I actually am. I think I'm a smart guy, but there are smarter people than me that can do that job, and I'm going to try to find those people. So anyways, that's my last kind of uncommon wisdom, maybe, is hire people that are smarter than you are. That, that is collective, but I just disagree with they should be able to do a better the job than there's a reason that I'm not a store manager. Our store managers are better store managers than I would be. They love what they do. They're really good at managing people. They're better suited for that. And so you're darn tootin', they're a better manager than I would be. I wish I was a better manager. I'm not, but I'm good at the stuff that I work on. Right. So anyways,
you got to stick to your lane and do it well. If people would like to learn more about you and the company, how do they find you?
Yeah, totally. You can always just email me. Because we have such a great team, my time is sometimes available, but there have been so many people that have given to me, and this is not my wisdom. It's all stuff that I've either learned the hard way or just have listened to other people, and I'm happy that I have. But if you ever want to just if you have ideas and want my 2 cents on them for whatever reason, I'm happy to hop on a call. My email is michael@frenchflorist.com. If you want to try our product, I think that we're the best at what we do. Sorry. And I think you'll be really pleasantly surprised. I think America has lost its way to 1-800-Flowers and other players in the space that have transactionalized the experience of flowers. And it's a shame that it's become that way. So that's what we're fighting back at as a company. We want people to have a remarkable experience with flowers. If you want to experience that, if you happen to be buying flowers, give our company a try, and we hope we exceed your expectations. It's one of our core values. And then if for whatever reason you wanted to learn more about the franchise opportunity, or have a friend that's interested in franchising, a lot of franchises are horrible. Don't invest in a franchise. We're similar to how we're approaching the floral industry. We are approaching franchising in a very different and better way, we think. And so if you're ever curious about exploring that, you can reach out to us as well.
Awesome. And we'll put that in the show notes. Thank you so much for joining us today.
All right, Rocky. All right. Thanks so much.
Thanks for listening to this unedited video of the Profit Answer Man podcast. If you'd like to catch the full episode and learn more about what we do, check us out at profitcomesfirst.com. We also go through the Profit First book in each and every chapter in the beginning episodes of the podcast, so check those out as well. Thanks for listening, and here's to you having a more profitable and growing business.